right, we're live.
All right. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Katherine. We are a little early, so we're gonna hang out.
Cool.
Um, and did you bring your morning beverage?
I have had it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have to cut myself off because I have I can only drink so much caffeine being pregnant. So
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of Zoom and online. I've had a lot of pregnant colleagues that I've had no clue until the pictures show up on Facebook, because you don't see that they're pregnant. Like, you're not pregnant in your face. So
oh, I feel pregnant in my face too. Right now. I feel pregnant everywhere. But but
all right. So I'm going to have to ask how far along you are, and then we're going to jump into the intro, and then we'll
yes.
swing back to what it's like to be pregnant and a minister, a chaplain, a noonday ambassador. So
All the things.
yeah, all the things. So
Yes. I'm almost 34 weeks. So I know we're getting
wow.
there. The home stretch. We're
So
excited.
baby dough ring number 2 is like ready, just about.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
no wonder you feel pregnant everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep. 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 So, and also, I will say, I'm getting over a cold. It is not the dreaded Rona, thank goodness. So, but bear with me.
There's pine pollen everywhere here. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to introduce, I want to welcome people who are joining us. This is our second episode of Women in Ministry, our Women in Ministry series. And so Diakonos Solutions is highlighting women in ministry who are doing non-traditional ministry things. And so today we welcome the Reverend Katherine Hester Doring, who is an ordained PCUSA pastor, and she is a chaplain with a large Houston-based hospital network. But in the middle of the pandemic, while everyone else was getting puppies, Katherine became a noonday ambassador. She found the Noonday Collection, and that's an interesting story that I hope she will tell. But she feels that she is called to both chaplaincy and to noonday. So we welcome Katherine this morning. Just as a quick background, Katherine and I met when we were collegiate ministers together. I was serving at the University of Arkansas, and she was at Texas A&M Aggieland. And so we have spent time together at Montreat College Conference and other youth conferences, as well as journeying all the way across to Taizé, France, as last month's guest, Lauren Peters, said, you've got a Taizé theme going on here. And I think what the theme is that in collegiate ministry, you are an entrepreneurial minister, whether you want to be one or not.
Absolutely.
And you learn how to do a lot of different things. So anyway, welcome, Katherine. And I want to hand it over to you, and I want you to be able to say hello, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. I'm so honored, Susan, that you asked me to talk today, and just a word that you used that I was like, yes, that is the common thread here, is entrepreneurial. Because definitely in campus ministry, or really any ministry where you are serving in a pastoral role, but it's in a different context than maybe just the traditional church, or what comes to mind when you think of the quote normal minister looking type. It is entrepreneurial. You're figuring it out as you go. And also, what I would describe my role as a noonday ambassador is a type of social entrepreneur, for sure.
All right.
So yeah. So
unpack that. Unpack that for
thought,
us. What's yeah. No, and you said that there was really a beautiful thread through your call story, but what does it mean to be a social entrepreneur?
Um, well, uh, as a Noonday ambassador, we talk a lot about, we kind of call ourselves advocates in arm parties because, what we sell, whoops, sorry, let me make sure it's in the camera, is fair trade jewelry that's made by artisans in countries all over the world. And the purpose is to provide living wage jobs, particularly for women, empowering women with economic freedom. Um, but so yes, we are advocates in armed parties, but that's what we're about. We all have our own little small businesses that we're running, but we're in partnership with these other women across the world who are also trying to do the same thing and creating opportunities for each other, um, and also building a community among each other that way,
Mhm.
which is really cool, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all kind of figuring it out together as we go, and so to me, what that means is, yeah, you're getting creative, you're trying new things, you're being adventurous, but there is a social purpose behind it. It's not just the profit. Yes, we all have to make one of those because that's how we have jobs and
Mhm.
how we survive. But the purpose is that so all can have that opportunity, all can flourish all over the world.
Yeah. No, so if you're not familiar with Noonday, it's Noonday Collections, and you can go to their website, and they actually tell wonderful stories, and they actually have an
Mhm.
impact tab where you can see where the impact is across the world. And
Mhm.
I know we didn't discuss this previously when we were talking, but Melinda Gates in her book a couple of years ago, The Power of Lift, I think that was the name of her book. She talks about the importance of when women are empowered, when women the impact for the family is significant.
Oh yeah.
Children are fed, children go to school at higher rates, and so what Noonday is doing is significant um, in local communities where these artisans are. Um,
Yes, I have the physical copy right here. This is actually old. It's updated on the website because we have, digital copy, but we have an impact report that you can read. And it talks about like each country and the different impact. Like here's Haiti. I'm having a hard time with my camera today. But our part of our vision is that people have jobs, women are empowered, children are cherished, and we are all connected because all
mm,
of those things are connected
yeah.
for sure. And if you go to Katherine Doring, you can see how you spell my fun German last name there at the screen, bottom of the screen. .noondaycollection.com. And
Um,
I will whenever we post our video, I'll be sure to put all the
yeah.
under there.
Yeah. Well, and I will we can put that we can drop that in the chat.
Yes.
I dropped your Facebook group in the chat,
Oh,
and
awesome. Thank you.
yeah. So of course, um Diaconus. I had internet issues as we were getting on. I had to restart. Um and I've got Diakonos Solutions on there also. Do you want to jump into the Noonday stuff, or do you want to back up and talk about chaplaincy and how chaplaincy kind of led you to Noonday?
Yeah.
Where
Let's
do you want to
backpedal
go?
just a little bit
Yeah,
and
let's
we'll
backpedal. Okay, so
mm-hmm.
do you want to talk about how you went into to chaplaincy, or do you want to? I know, I know personally, I want you to talk about being a chaplain during COVID because I think it puts such a human face
Absolutely.
on the pandemic that we've all experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a common thread in that we've all been a part of this, but
Mm-hmm.
you've got some unique experiences that I think are remarkable and touching, and it just puts a really human face on numbers and
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic and everything like that. So do you want to talk about chaplaincy, or
Yeah.
do you want to talk about COVID and chaplaincy?
Well, I'll tell a little bit, how did I discern a call to be a chaplain? Um, excuse me. I think it started, well, with many call stories, I think you can trace it back, who knows, all your life in some ways. But I'll begin with college because frighteningly, that was quite a while ago, actually. Now, but yeah, I went to a small liberal arts Presbyterian college, Davidson. Go Wildcats! Got any Wildcats out there? Um, and I actually had two really powerful opportunities that are connected both to chaplaincy and I'd say to fair trade and noonday later. But one of those was an internship where we was through two Presbyterian churches, and there were five of us interns, and they helped sponsor us to be interns in these different urban organizations that were addressing urban poverty in Charlotte, North Carolina. And one of the ones that I worked for was a job readiness program called Jacob's Ladder. And it was my favorite placement. We got to experiment with a few different placements. And what I realized made it my favorite was that it was smaller. And I really had an opportunity to build relationships and kind of help support and counsel people emotionally as they were getting ready for job interviews and, um, you know, kind of learning their strengths and processing some of their experiences and how to share that, and kind of sell themselves for a job. And I realized, like, yeah, this is really where I feel called, and just what I want to be part of is these deeper conversations with people, you know. And I had, some external feedback too, just that, in those types of settings, folks would just say to me things like, I really felt like I could share with you, or you really helped me see this insight, or um, man, I really felt heard,
Mm.
and um, those types of things. And I just thought to myself, wow, I think pastoral care is really where my strengths lie, and really where I see, like, in these individual interactions, my gifts. You're, um, as Frederick Buechner likes to say, like, your great gift aligning with the world's great need. Or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm riffing on that a little bit, but
Yep.
I
Yep.
think you might know the quote I'm talking
I.
about. So then when I felt, the call to go to seminary, I looked at programs. I ended up going to Duke Divinity School. I looked at programs that had opportunities to even get like an MDiv and an MSW dual, and I decided not to do that because it just ended up being a lot of school.
Mm-hmm.
but but I definitely wanted to go somewhere where I would be able to do a chaplaincy internship because that was an avenue that I wanted to explore. So I did my first one there at Duke, and I just fell in love with what chaplains do. We
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of our own inner exploration and reflection and inner work, kind of like a therapist does, you know, um, with the idea that, that equips us to help others do the same. Um, and, sometimes I think um, one of the most powerful things that we can do in life is just listen well to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and help them say out loud for themselves, uh, what's been going on in here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm a chaplain. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful, hard work.
One of the things I actually wrote down because I thought it was amazing, and it dovetails. I'm learning the same thing in spiritual direction training. Um, Listening can change the world, empowering someone by hearing them.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and it's not a natural skill, even for someone that would say, oh yes, I'm quite empathetic, which I would say I am. For better or for worse, it's kind of hard to be an empath. If you are one, But yeah, you have to really train yourself to be a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to keep working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a journey that you ever end. I think it's always working towards that.
Mm-hmm.
That you can always be better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So um
Mm-hmm.
uh how has it been? I mean, how has it been? So you you were in collegiate ministry and then you transitioned to chaplaincy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes. So, oh yes. So I'm another interesting aspect that I think we discussed earlier. Maybe one day we'll dive into this too. But I'm in a clergy couple.
yes, that's what
I'm
I'm gonna work on having a women's panel of clergy couples.
hmm
Hopefully this summer. So we'll have to bring you back.
Yes. So my first ordained call, was to campus ministry, which was wonderful. I would, I'd totally do that again or
Mhm.
consider that again. It wasn't like, oh, that isn't the perfect fit or something. But just, as my spouse too's figuring out his call, and we're discerning together where wants us to be. God had us in College Station, Texas for a few years, you know, and then when we transitioned to the Houston suburbs, there's so many hospitals around here, so that was an avenue that I looked at, and it was like, hey, I had a feeling that I was going to circle back around to that, and lo and behold, that is what occurred. And I mean, God saw fit to have me do it in the middle of a pandemic too. So
So tell us about that. I mean,
yeah.
how has that been?
Mm-hmm. Gosh. Um, well, of course it's been really challenging. I guess that's obvious. Um I would say some of the hardest challenges have just been learning how to have um, the same kind of connections in different ways over the phone, virtually. Um, so, in some ways, that actually wasn't as hard as one would think. Um, you can still hold space for somebody while they're sobbing over the other end of a phone line.
Mhm.
Um, I think the hardest part pastorally is when you've got to be that. There was a time in the pandemic, it's getting better now because we have vaccines, and we know that masks are effective and what PPE to wear, and those types of things. So families can come in more. But just having to stand in and be that person that is, present to someone dying at the end of their life for their family that can't be there in person. And you're just kind of holding that middle space. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think that has just witnessing those things and putting myself there a lot has taken its toll on me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where I don't know. I'm really hesitant to compare myself to like being in the army or something in a war, because I do think that that's a different type of trauma. But at times, I've just kind of felt like I'm so honored to be serving in this way,
Mhm.
and to see these things, and to be able to do this for someone else.
Mhm.
I hope someone would do it for me if it was my loved one, but ooh, I have
There
to acknowledge how difficult this has been you know,
frontline work.
on all of
Yes.
us frontliners. Yeah.
There's been 3 articles, probably in the last month in the Wall Street Journal, how nurses, there's been a focus on nurses and how they are comparing it to war.
Mm-hmm.
And the, they're learning, they're using some of the same language, but
Mm-hmm.
that hospital chaplains are beginning to learn more from armed services and how to deal with the trauma, because it is different, but it is still trauma, and there's a lot of similarities. And so I thought that was fascinating. You know,
Yes, we
yeah.
just had a really wonderful like continuing education symposium that my hospital system, Memorial Hermann, sponsored, and it was on moral injury
Mm,
and moral distress. And honestly, it was hitting so close to home that I was like, it's hard for me to even analyze this because I'm like in it.
yeah.
I was like, I think I'm having all these really intense emotional responses. I think I'm gonna have to like come back and listen to this again when I can
Yeah. Yeah.
use my analytical brain a little bit more. But
Yeah. Yeah. So in the midst of the pandemic,
mm-hmm,
and I remember we talked last summer, and you said you had seen more people die than, I mean, in congregational ministry, if you have a
mm-hmm.
handful of deaths a year, it's a lot. And you had dozens upon dozens, like hundreds. And
Definitely.
to experience that. And in the midst of all of that, you were invited to a noonday trunk show, right?
Virtual, of course.
Do you want to talk about that and how
Yes,
you?
I would love to talk about that. Um, so backpedal one more time,
Okay, okay.
back to college. So another very powerful experience I had in college was to travel to Nicaragua with a group of college students, and we were only there for like 10 days, but we studied Nicaraguan history and our relationship to the its relationship to the United States, its culture, its politics, its relationship to the church and Christianity, all these things. And we studied the fair trade movement as well as
Mm,
a form of mission. It was through the chaplain's office, so campus ministry and chaplaincy right there.
mhm, mhm,
um, but that was what turned me on to the fair trade movement. And in college, my undergraduate degree is actually art. So I have a liberal arts degree. So I took everything from biology to economics, and religion. I have a religion minor. Um, but I'm also an artist and a creative person. So that's always been something that it's just part of me. How I see the world, where I see life and beauty and connection and meaning, and I just love celebrating the arts. So that's always meant something to me. I actually thought about, maybe I would work for an NGO or something that's doing fair trade at some point. I explored that and almost went into the Peace Corps for a little bit, but I kind of chickened out that one. Um, but anyway, so um, another piece of my life is that some close members of my family have a rare genetic disease. And so, I just had another mom friend from church whose children or one of her children has a rare genetic disease. And she was doing a fundraiser to raise support for it. And she invited me to it. And it so happened to be a noonday trunk show. Um, Noonday is based in Austin, Texas. And I'd never heard of it before. And I just thought, how in the world did I miss this? It's right here in Texas, and this incredible fair trade company. And um, I mean, as you can see, everything is just adorable. So how did I miss this? Um, and as I learned about it and just all of the artists and stories behind it, um, it just took me back to that place of connection that I felt, on that
mhm,
trip. And um, that trip was really powerful because we talked about mission, um, not as like, these Western white people coming to save the,
mhm.
you know, whatever other third world country needs us so much because we have it all figured out and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very realistic, like, look at the broken relationships across the world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
socioeconomic relationships. And really, we need to be going and learning from each other and supporting each other and empowering us all to be able to economically flourish. Um, and Noonday, I felt like, is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I learn more about the company, that's something that they're trying to do. You know, there's different models that different fair trade entities use. Um, you know, some have kind of a nonprofit component. Um, Noonday's, you know, taken like a direct, kind of a direct sales, you know, independent salesperson model, which is interesting, I think. Um, but anyway, I think what I was searching for and what many of us were searching for during the pandemic were also disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and golly, we needed some color and life and levity, you know, back
Mm-hmm.
as well. And, you know, through Noonday, I just found a lot of those things. On one hand, we just have a lot of fun with fashion and color and creativity and art. You know, on the other hand, like, we are all about justice and, you know, working to bring economic freedom and empowerment to other women, you know, all around the world. And, um, you know, we recently had in January is our annual Shine conference, and someone said it is this crazy mix between a fashion show, an incredible dance party, and like a UN summit. Because we have representatives from the Fair Trade Federation, from the International Justice Mission, you know, all these different organizations that are addressing, you know, poverty and trying to
Mm-hmm.
create equitable economic opportunity across the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I actually, I was talking with another frontline colleague who was just struggling and wanted to talk, you know, came to the chaplain the other day and just saying, like, you know, we've been in this for 2 years. It's affecting me. I'm trying to figure out, you know, how to take care of myself, you know, yada yada. And I just said, listen, I'm right there with you. And something that's really helped me is to find a good hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually, that is kind of what Noonday started out as for me, was like, hey, I got a fun fair trade jewelry hobby, you know, and it's helping me to get through this pandemic. Um, it has become more, to my surprise.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. You know, I'd say more than hobby, I feel like I am like a social entrepreneur. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, you know, that's a thing. That's
Yeah.
I think that's part of a call. Part of my call story. And I'm still kind of figuring it out, you know. Um, but also I think any of us that do this really intense, you know, caregiving work or or
Mm-hmm.
even just there's different aspects of ministry, some of them that really tax us in different ways, and how can we find balance, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, in those things, you know, reincorporating parts of myself that are creative and artistic as well as very justice oriented. That has been life changing and life saving for
Yeah.
me
Yeah. Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. No, because I would, everyone's life, and I think this is where it resonates with everyone. Everyone's life wasn't just knocked sideways, it was turned upside down, shaken really hard, and then put in some sort of tumbler. And then, you know, and you don't know which way is up. And so just constantly trying to find your grounding in the midst of everything that is going on. And this helped you find your grounding in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and has grown into a call as well, which is just extraordinary. I know. Do you want to? do you want to talk a little bit about, because we are coming up on 30 minutes
I
and I
know,
know
I saw that.
you have to go, you have to do your day job. So do you want to talk about, I know you just released, or Noonday
Mhm.
just released their spring collection, right?
Yes.
And I know you wanted to, we need to talk about our giveaways,
Mhm.
because so one of the ideas that I had in starting Diagnose Solutions is featuring other women doing other kinds of ministry and supporting that ministry. So I know Diagnose is going to be giving away a $25 gift certificate for Katherine Noonday products.
So
And
generous.
I say products instead of jewelry because you've got purses, you've got like hair accessories, you've
We do.
got belts. I mean, it's not just jewelry. So,
Yes.
yeah.
There are a few
And
things real
yeah.
quick.
So, why don't you tee up a little bit about that and
Mhm.
we could talk about the giveaways
Mhm.
and yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Susan. That's so generous of you. Yes, if you're watching and tuned in, then make yourself known so that Susan knows to put your name in the hat for a drawing. And then also, I think Susan, you said you put my VIP group. I have a VIP group on Facebook. If you come join my VIP group, I'll give you till Friday. Okay. Um, but join, give me a shout and say, hey, I caught your Diakonos Solutions interview. And I will put your name in the hat for a drawing for a $25 gift card from me. And yes, this is a super fun time to have such thing in pocket because yesterday is when our whole new spring collection launched, and it is so much fun. I'll show a few items and just highlight a few little trends that you can be looking for. So first, I put on these earrings. These are called the Dynamic Drops. They are a favorite of Susan.
Mm-hmm.
These little beads here that are on them, these come from Uganda. These are all teeny tiny little paper beads. Each one of those beads represents a job. That's how I think of it. Um, because each one of these is handmade and then they assemble them together. These come from our very first artisan partnership. It was kind of the origin story of Noonday, so they're really special. So those are great. Um, since we are Diakonos Solutions is faith based, I will mention I put on one of our necklaces that kind of has a faith connection. This one is called Boundless Faith. It comes from our Storyline collection. All of these little dainty a lot of them necklaces, bracelets, pieces, they come from our artisan partner in East Asia that fights human trafficking. So they actually go into brothels and try to rescue and help bring women out of there, and then offer them a job learning to make this jewelry and assemble this jewelry, but also just a holistic program to help them to recover from that trauma. So these are really special. They all have a different kind of symbol and meaning behind them. So those are really neat. We are also just the queen of arm parties, as we say at Noonday. Advocates with arm parties. So I've got a couple different arm parties on today. Um, these are some of my very favorite pieces, just a really simple gold cuff. This comes from India. This is one of my very favorite new pieces that we have. This comes from Peru. Um, and we work with a couple different really neat metalsmiths from Peru. This is a new technique that they just adopted where they hand paint this enamel on. Yeah. And we just heard from this partner, a little update from them in January. And they actually said that because of their partnership with Noonday, they have not suffered in the pandemic. They have only expanded and been able to hire more people. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see. If if jewelry, as Susan, as you said, if jewelry is somehow not your jam, hard for me to wrap my mind around, of course. But I know it's not for everyone. This past October, we actually came out with a new home line that's really awesome. We have some beautiful ceramic pieces. Like this is this really fun little tea light. It comes in pink or aqua, or this pretty blue. This is a little vase that we have. These are handmade in Nepal, and this is one of our newest artisan partnerships. We have this really neat planter from Rwanda, part of our home collection. Really cute. Let's see. Whoops, I think my light burned out there. Anyway, there's so much more to check out on the website. So, and if I can help you style, I would be glad to. It can be a little intimidating sometimes putting it all together, but it's really fun. So don't hesitate to ask.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I caught a little bit of the launch broadcast yesterday, and the host was telling about how to layer different necklaces. And I just remember beginning of pandemic, all the jewelry came off, the jewelry, the makeup, sweatpants came on. And so as we emerge, sometimes we have to relearn things, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And embrace whatever style that we've learned about ourselves as we are emerging from the pandemic. So, all right. So I want to just quickly wrap up. So for Diakonos, super easy. Drop a comment either on this, or I'm going to post this on the Facebook, on our Facebook page. I am not legalistic. If you make yourself known in some way, shape, or form, I will enter you. Also, if you go to Diakonos Solutions, and I put that in the chat box, and sign up for a newsletter, we greatly appreciate that. We're launching a newsletter. We're trying to get beyond just the social media algorithms, and just trying to reach people directly. No one's going to be spammed, because we don't have time to spam you. So I mean, I do this part-time. I work in a church part-time, and I have hired another woman, another ordained pastor, to help me. And she is working 3 part-time jobs. None of us have time. And for Katherine, if you, she's asking that you join her Noonday Collection group.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already a member, can they just comment? Can they comment on?
Yes. If you're already a member, comment that you came in and tuned in today, and I don't know, something cool that you got from it. I'd love to do that, and something that spoke to you, to your heart. And
I'm there's joy.
$25.
There is joy in giving something away. So we're not trying to make this difficult. We're just trying to engage in new and different ways. So I think, is there anything else you want to share? Or I know, I do want to honor the fact that you do have to get to your job.
No. I just thank you, Susan. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for empowering women and changing the world with what you do. And I'm so honored to be part of this and to continue supporting Diakonos Solutions and tuning in. And may God bless us women, and to continue shaping the world, and to God's vision of that beautiful connectedness.
I'm going to say amen, and catch us next month. We'll post when the March Women in Ministry series is going on. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Katherine. And just amen. I think that was a beautiful benediction. All right. Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.